The sad part about it is he died in his brother's arms. They were twins, identical twins. And his brother was holding on to him, trying to make it stop bleeding. And he died in his brother's arms. And I rushed up there, and I saw him on the gurney. And I could tell.
He was just 17, a straight-A student, a team MVP, a twin. One moment he was cheering on his teammates under the Texas sky. The next, he was gasping for breath, blood soaking the field where he once fought for glory. What happened that rainy morning at Kuykendall Stadium? A simple argument turned fatal. A knife pulled from a backpack. A life stolen in seconds. But what if the real tragedy isn't just the death? But what came after? The racial firestorm, the swatting, the national outrage, the blame games. This is the unfiltered, heartbreaking, and deeply disturbing story of Austin Metcalf, the star linebacker whose life was cut short, and how one moment has torn a community apart. Let us know in the comments, was this self-defense, a tragic overreaction, or something deeper? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more real stories that matter. On the morning of April 2nd, 2025, at Kuykendall Stadium in Frisco, Texas, a high school track meet turned tragic when 17-year-old Austin Metcalf, a junior at Memorial High School, was fatally stabbed. The incident began when Karmelo Anthony, a student from Centennial High School, sought shelter under Memorial High's Team 10 during a rain shower. Metcalf asked Anthony to leave, leading to a confrontation. Witnesses reported that Anthony warned Metcalf not to touch him. When Metcalf attempted to remove him physically, Anthony allegedly pulled a knife from his backpack and stabbed Metcalf in the chest. Metcalf's twin brother, Hunter, was present and tried to save him, but Metcalf succumbed to his injuries at the hospital. Imagine watching your twin, your best friend, bleed out in front of you. The screams, the panic, the helplessness.
There was this kid, before I knew his name now, this kid was sitting under our tent at track. We asked him to move. He started getting aggressive and talking reckless. And my brother stepped in and said, "You need to move." He's like, "Make me move." Austin grabbed his backpack. The kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab. But then I look at my brother, and then I'm not gonna talk about the rest. So yeah. That's just what I saw. And I tried to help him, but
it was just senseless.
It was really senseless. Really, I don't know why a person would do that to someone just over that little argument. It's just crazy in this world nowadays how people just up and do that. Like that man has a family. That man has people that care about them all the time, and he did everything for our family too. He was a strong man. He was a strong kid.
Would you ever recover from that? Austin was a standout linebacker on his school's football team, known for his leadership and academic excellence. He wasn't just a football player. He was a dreamer, a leader, a light in the lives of everyone who knew him. He had scholarships in sight. Now he's just a statistic. He was voted team MVP and maintained a 4.0 GPA with aspirations to play college football. His family and community mourned his loss deeply, holding a memorial service at Hope Fellowship Frisco East, where he was remembered as a true warrior and a dedicated Christian. Karmelo Anthony was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. He was initially held on a $1 million bond, which was later reduced to $250,000. But was it murder or a terrified reaction from a boy who felt cornered? What really happened in those seconds before the blade came out? Anthony was released on house arrest with an ankle monitor. He claimed self-defense, stating that Metcalf had put his hands on him. Anthony's family has faced public scrutiny and threats, leading them to request that he be allowed to complete his schooling from home. The incident sparked national attention and controversy. A group called Protect White Americans organized a protest, framing the stabbing as an act of anti-white violence. The Metcalfs never asked for this. Now their son's face is being used as fuel for a fire they never lit. Is tragedy being hijacked for political gain? Jeff Metcalf, Austin's father, publicly denounced the group's actions, stating, "You're trying to create more race divide than bridging the gap. I do not condone anything you do. He also requested that his son's image be removed from the group's materials.
This country is wrong. Why can't you stand that and say with that? Maybe you can. Would you be willing to stand by me in a press conference or in an individual interview and talk about this issue that is larger than Austin at this point? God rest the beautiful young man's soul that would have been one of our strongest voices if he was still alive today.
Are you done?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, my turn to speak. You are part of the fucking problem, my friend. You're trying to create more race divide than bridging the gap. I do not condone anything you do. You do not have any fucking...
That's called white guilt.
No, let it talk.
My son, let me finish. I give you your time. You take my son's face off your website. I am not associated with you.
You're creating more Austin Metcalfs with your weakness, sir. You are creating more Austin Metcalfs with your weakness.
You are being weak. I gotta be honest with you about that, sir.
You're being weak. Condemn your son's killer and the culture that caused it.
Hey, Jeff.
That's the problem. You've been submitted.
Hold on, hey, Jeff.
You've been submitted.
I'll handle it from here.
You've been submitted, sir.
You're not gonna make us...
Both the Metcalf and Anthony families have been subjected to swatting incidents, where false emergency calls led to armed police responses at their homes. What started as a tragedy has turned into a nightmare. Armed police raids, death threats, and panic attacks. None of this brings Austin back. These dangerous pranks have added to the family's distress during an already traumatic time. As the legal proceedings continue, the community grapples with the loss of a promising young life and the broader implications of the tragedy. Austin Metcalf's legacy as a dedicated student, athlete, and beloved son endures in the hearts of those who knew him. This story reminds us just how fragile life truly is. One second of anger, one snap decision, one small confrontation can unravel dreams, destroy families, and change lives forever. Austin Metcalf wasn't just a student or an athlete. He was a brother, a son, a leader, a friend. His death isn't just a headline. It's a warning about the power of unchecked emotion, pride, and impulse. In a world where young people are taught to stand their ground, we must also teach them the strength in walking away. Pride shouldn't cost a life. Respect shouldn't have to be demanded with fists or weapons. And conflict should never escalate faster than reason can keep up. It's also a reflection on how quickly society rushes to judgment, turning heartbreak into hashtags, tragedy into politics, and grief into chaos. The racial divide that followed this incident shows how easily pain can be manipulated. Instead of unity and mourning, division became the louder voice. As Jeff Metcalf, Austin's father, said best, "You're trying to create more race divide than bridging the gap." We must remember, grief belongs to the families, not the factions. Let us honor the dead by choosing peace over performance, truth over tribalism, and understanding over outrage. The first media wave, one hero, one villain. The narrative that emerged within hours was tragically simple. Star athlete murdered by violent kid. It wrote itself, a golden boy lost, a savage act. The photos told the story. Austin in his jersey, smiling, hopeful. Karmelo in a mugshot, expressionless. The contrast was brutal and effective. But here's the flip side question. When did we stop telling full stories? Why did no one ask, why was Karmelo carrying a knife? Why did no one wonder? What experiences had conditioned him to see every confrontation as a possible threat? Why was it so easy to paint Austin as purely innocent and Karmelo as irredeemable? This isn't about denying Austin's goodness. He was beloved for a reason. But if we're going to mourn properly, we must also understand completely. And the truth is, Karmelo Anthony didn't kill because he was evil. He killed because, like many boys raised in America's quiet corners of tension and fear, he had learned that the world might not protect him when things go wrong. So he protected himself, even if it meant making a decision that would destroy 2 lives and ripple through countless more. When a white teen dies at the hands of a black one, the country doesn't grieve quietly, it erupts. But this time, the one voice begging for calm was the victim's own father.
I know they have someone in custody.
Yeah, we do.
And you know what? I already forgive this person.
Already?
Already. God takes care of things. God's going to take care of me. God's going to take care of my family.
It only took 24 hours. News crews had descended on Frisco like vultures. Social media was ablaze. Images of Austin Metcalf, his football highlights, his academic accolades, his photos in church youth group, filled timelines across the country. And within that same 24 hours, a Facebook group launched under the name Protect White Americans. They weren't asking questions. They weren't waiting for facts. They already had their conclusion. Austin Metcalf was killed because he was white. Suddenly, this wasn't just a tragedy, it was a talking point. The hijacking of grief. Jeff Metcalf, Austin's father, was grieving the loss of his son. The last thing he expected or wanted was to see his boy's face plastered on the digital banners of a political movement that stood for division and white victimhood. In a world quick to polarize, his voice stood out. It was a father saying, "Stop using my child to push your agenda." And yet they didn't stop. Because to them, Austin wasn't just a son, he was a symbol of purity lost, of America changing, of fear taking root in places once considered safe. But here's where it gets complicated. Some would argue there was truth behind their fear. Two realities, one knife. In one reality, Karmelo Anthony is a teenager who made a terrible mistake, a kid who warned someone not to touch him, a boy who panicked, not planned. But in another reality, one experienced by many white Americans, Karmelo became the embodiment of every unspoken fear. The idea that violence could strike anywhere, unprovoked, unjustified, and unanswered. This was the flip side many wouldn't admit out loud. To some people, the sight of a black teen with a knife is confirmation of every stereotype they've ever internalized. And when the victim is white, that fear hardens into fury. That fury showed up in Frisco. Protest signs, online campaigns, angry posts demanding justice, but cloaked in dog whistles and racial suspicion. Karmelo's name became a trigger. Karmelo wasn't granted the dignity of complexity. He wasn't called troubled or misguided. He was called thug, predator, murderer. No one asked about his school history. No one cared that he'd previously been targeted for suspension over small altercations that escalated not because of violence, but because of how threatening he was perceived to be. When he was released from jail on a $250,000 bond placed under house arrest, there was outrage. He should be locked up forever. He got special treatment. If the races were reversed, the white kid would be in prison for life. And maybe they were right. Or maybe the justice system, for once, showed nuance. Maybe it recognized that this wasn't first-degree murder. Maybe it saw what others refused to see. A teenager terrified, not a killer on the prowl. But the public wasn't interested in nuance. Austin's family, already shattered, now feared for their lives in their own home. Karmelo's family, already hiding from death threats, now slept with lights on and curtains closed.
My 13-year-old daughter is afraid to sleep in her own bedroom because she's fearful of what might happen to her. And let me be clear, the claims that were used about the public donation to buy a home or anything else are completely false.
Here's the bitter irony. Both families were victims now, but only one was allowed to grieve publicly. The Metcalfs were wrapped in community support, surrounded by candles and tributes. Karmelo's parents were isolated, blamed, silenced, and painted as the creators of a monster. And yet they too lost a son, not to death, but to a system that had already convicted him before his trial began.